What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be looking at trigonometry. Okay, so in trig, we're going to be focusing on the what we call trig ratios. Okay, so we're going to have a look at right angle triangles. Okay, yes, so right angle triangles is back. We remember right angle triangles from grade 9. Let me just draw this better. Okay, so we have a right angle triangle with a 90-degree there. Okay, and let's put some values in here, and let's call this theta. Okay, let's call this alpha, and then let's put some values in. So let's say this is root 3, 1, 2. Okay, here we go. So we're going to be looking at the trigonometric ratios of sine theta, cos theta, and tan theta. Okay. Okay. So tan theta is represented by, but before we get there, let's put in what we know as our hypotenuse, okay, our opposite, and our adjacent. Okay, you guys remember this from grade 9, right? Hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. Okay, if we're looking at the angle theta, right, this angle over here, and we want to represent sine in terms of theta, we're going to say sine theta equals opposite over our hypotenuse. Okay, if we go to cos, so again we said sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, we said cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan theta is opposite over adjacent. Okay, so how do you remember this? They have created a saying, okay, and the saying goes like this: so ka toa. Okay, so this acronym reads sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan is opposite over adjacent. Okay, so all you need to remember is so ka toa. Okay, if you can embed that into your memory, you will always remember that sine is opposite of hypotenuse, cos theta is adjacent of hypotenuse, and tan theta is opposite over adjacent. Okay, so how do we represent the sine of theta? Okay, so we say the sine of theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so that means, therefore, we can say that the sine of theta equals, so what is opposite to theta? You can see there, opposite would be root 3. Okay, and what is our hypotenuse? Remember, the hypotenuse always stays the same. That is 2. We can now also say that cos theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, so what is adjacent to angle theta? So remember, adjacent means next to. So we can see that adjacent to angle theta is 1, right? Next to, okay? So 1 is next to angle theta, right? And we know our hypotenuse remains the same, so the hypotenuse is a half. 2. So that's, therefore, we can say that cos theta equals a half. Okay, and then we can also do our last one, which is tan theta, and we know that tan theta equals opposite over adjacent, right? You guys with me? Opposite over adjacent. That's tan theta. So opposite, let's see what is, well, again, we know opposite theta is root 3, right? Opposite theta is root 3, and our adjacent is 1, which we can simplify and say, therefore, tan theta equals root 3, okay? Because we know 1 goes into root 3 times, right? Okay, so we follow. In terms of this triangle, sine, cos, and tan would be root 3 a half, root 3 over 2 a half, and root 3, okay? We can also represent sine, cos, and tan in terms of alpha, okay? So let me remove this, and then let's represent sine, cos, and tan in terms of angle alpha. Okay, so that's your angle alpha on top there. There's your angle alpha. So if we can say now that sine alpha equals opposite over hypotenuse, therefore my sine of alpha, so which number is now opposite angle alpha, and you guessed it right, that is the number 1. So that would now be sine alpha would be opposite, which being 1 over the hypotenuse, which is a half. So the sine of alpha equals a half. Okay, then we can do cos of alpha, and we know that is equal to adjacent over the hypotenuse. Okay, and then what is adjacent to alpha? Remember, adjacent means next to, and that is our root 3 over here, which is adjacent to alpha. Okay, so we know that is root 3, and we know that our hypotenuse is 2. Okay, and then we have one more to represent in terms of alpha, and we can say that tan alpha equals opposite over adjacent. Okay, and we know opposite to alpha was the number 1, and adjacent to alpha was root 3. So tan alpha equals 1 over root 3. Okay guys, so that's all for today. Please watch the space. I will be dropping a second video. We will go more into depth with sine, cos, and tan. Until next time.